Hello and welcome back to Polestar Driver. On this channel we are tracking my ownership of a Polestar 2 and the ups and downs of owning one of these. This week I have some good and some bad news, so let's kick it off with the bad news and get that out of the way. So my car has now been off the road for 16 days and it's been in the service center for at least 10 working days. I only had one call from the service manager this week, and then there was another call which I missed because I was in a meeting, but he informed me that the high voltage coolant heater had been replaced, but there was still an issue that they identified with another part which actually lives just above the battery. So the result was that they had to remove the entire battery to get to this part and replace it, and then they would only start on the recall items. My last discussion with him was on Tuesday, and I had a missed call on Thursday, so I'm not sure what the latest status is, but I'm sure I'll find out in this coming week. The good news is that on Monday morning I had a call from the rental company, and they informed me that they wanted to replace the Mercedes that they had given me with a Volvo. So I went into the rental company and they provided me with an XC90. So without my Polestar 2, I've decided to compare the technology that's in this Volvo XC90 to what we have in the Polestar 2. This is a very nice car and I'm pleased with it, even though it's not an electric car. So the first thing to note as soon as you jump in is that everything is familiar. It has the identical steering wheel, just a different badge, and the center console is similar, although it's not an Android Auto system. The digital dashboard is okay, although it's a bit limited. So there's 4 options that you can have, but basically all the options do is change the color of the dials that you can see here in red. In terms of the center display, you can either see the map or you can see the media that is playing on the radio. Other than that, there's no other options to display the center, for example your trip computer or something like that, which is probably a bit of a miss from Volvo here. The one thing I did use in here was Apple CarPlay on the central display, and as you can see here, Apple CarPlay only takes up half of the screen for some reason. So I hope when the Polestar program the portrait screen in the Polestar 2 that it will be able to show a full screen of Apple CarPlay. The other bit of tech on the XC90 which is not on the Polestar 2 is the heads-up display. And here you can see in the video that the numbers appear relatively clearly on the screen. They projected directly to the windscreen, and it shows you the speed limit, the speed you're doing, plus if you have navigation on, it will show you the next turn that you need to take. After using this for a few days, it's fun to have it there, but I don't think I would pay extra to have this fitted, especially with the digital dashboard. I can see a use for this in something like the Teslas, where you don't have a digital dashboard, you only have the center display, and then the heads-up display would be useful in that case. The other feature on the XC90 is the active high beam, which you can see operational here. I would say that it's not as intelligent as the Polestar 2 version of the active high beam. It's in the Polestar 2 you can rarely see the lights shining around any oncoming objects. Here it just seems to be on high beam or off high beam, with not much intelligence to go with it. I did notice that it doesn't turn the high beam off until a second or two after it sees a car coming towards you, which sometimes causes that car to flash you. The other thing I did get was a couple of flashes even when the lights were on low beam. So maybe these lights on this car are set slightly high. On some roads I had to turn the active high beam off to stop it jumping all the time, whereas in the Polestar 2 I can leave it on permanently without any issue. One of the issues experienced in my Polestar 2 is around traffic sign recognition, of which I've made another video which is available on the channel. So I recorded this in the XC90 on a route that I travel weekly, which is a 130 mile round trip, and on this section of road in the Polestar 2 it keeps changing between 60, 70, 60, 70, 60, 70. But here in the XC90 you can see it maintains the correct speed limit all the way along until we get to the 60 zone, and then it drops down to 60 as you'd expect. So all in all, in my usual 130 mile round trip on a Friday, there was only one place that I found that the XC90 showed a different speed limit to the real speed limit, and that was in an area where there were recent roadworks. So it's possible that that has not been updated yet. The other useful thing is the camera warning, as seen here. The last thing I tested here was the pilot assist. So on the XC90 the pilot assist is very stable and it's much less naggy than the Polestar 2. For example, I held the steering wheel in the same way that I do in the Polestar 2, but in the Polestar 2 I get a warning every 5-10 seconds to hold the steering wheel. On motorways there were no issues at all with pilot assist. I also tested the pilot assist on a single lane road on a dark night, and there were no issues. Mainly it followed the road nicely and very stable. The one good thing I had not noticed before is that when it comes up to a sharp bend, the car actually slows down by 5 to 10 miles an hour to take the corner. And if you look on the top right hand side, near just under the speed, you will see an indicator appears that the road is bending to the left, and then the speed decreases by itself, which is great, very intelligent. There was only one issue I had along this stretch of single lane road, and that was when the pilot assist steering disconnected, but there's no audible warning that this happens. So if you are not concentrating, you won't notice that the green steering wheel actually turns to grey, and then if you don't steer, the car will end up on the other side of the road or maybe in a ditch. But other than that, you can see along this full stretch of road the green steering wheel is on. When the bends come up, the little indicator comes up, the car slows itself down and then continues back to the set speed. So you can see there's a kink in the road coming up on the map, and as soon as the sign appears, then the car starts slowing itself down. Back down to, this one went down by 10 miles an hour, even more, 15 miles an hour it went down, and then back to the set speed where it continues. So coming up shortly, you will see, if you watch the green steering wheel in the top right hand corner, it turns to grey, but at the time that it turns grey, there's absolutely no warning, nothing flashes, no sound or anything like that. So if you're not concentrating, it could be an issue. So coming up here, you will see at this bend, this pilot assist disconnects. There we go. And at that time, there's no audible warning or anything. The steering wheel just changes from green to grey. So something to watch out for. After some time, the pilot assist does reconnect the steering, and then it continues on its way. Coming up, you'll see the pilot assist steering reconnects. There we go. And then it continues on its journey. So there you have some interesting information and comparison between, what would they be, cousins. When I get my Polestar 2 back, I will be visiting this road again at night to see how Pilot Assist handles this in the Polestar 2. So there you have it, a quick comparison between the Polestar 2 technology and XC90 technology. Thanks for joining me today. If you like this content, please give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so that you get notified about new videos that are coming along. And I'm always happy to see your comments and respond to those. Thanks for everyone who's left comments previously. Hopefully this week will bring me some good news with the return of my Polestar 2, and then we can continue our journey of ownership of a Polestar 2. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next week.